Hi, everyone, and welcome to the final session that we have today for AIJC 2021 on this really long Thursday. It's a really exciting session. We are looking at social media for investigation. And with us today, we actually have Michael Salzwedel. Now, this session is going to be looking at how we can use social media as a gold mine, useful information, leads, and as sources for you as in our investigative journalists. Now we're going to be using tools like CrowdTangle, and Michael's going to be introducing a lot of other tools as well, and how we can use that to find content and conversations that really enhance how we search and research our stories. Now these tools, as well as Michael, is going to be taking us through how to track search terms using advanced search. We're going to be looking at how to use lists for custom and specific topics and resources. We're going to learn how to get real-time alerts for viral content, as well as how to set up regular digests for relevant results, how to use live displays, and how to use live displays to track trending topics. Now, I haven't introduced myself just yet. My name is Campbell-Jessica. I am part of the AIJC team here, and I'm really excited to sit with Michael and hear a little bit more about this topic. Now, to Michael, he is a pandemic media mentor for Internews. He assists with digital media training and development with Internews employees and partners from around the world. His work centers around social media listening, mobile journalism, and online learning. And at the moment, it is mostly focusing on the COVID-19 pandemic and vaccine storytelling. Lastly, about Michael, he is also a founding partner and trainer at Social Weaver, which offers digital media training for newsrooms, NGOs, universities, small businesses, and other groups in South Africa. And if that CV is not long enough, trust me, it does get a little bit more impressive. Now, you can find more about Michael and him on LinkedIn, and you can also follow him on Twitter with the most original name that I've seen in a while, @Saltwag. So thank you so much, Michael, for being here today. We're really looking forward to the session.
Thank you so much, Campbell. Yeah, that's just the literal translation of my surname. That explains the Twitter handle. Thank you so much for that introduction, and thanks to everyone who has tuned in for this session so late in the day on social media tools for investigations. So I'm going to start sharing my screen so we can jump right in. If you do have questions along the way, please feel free to leave them in Wova or whichever platform you're on, and we'll try and get to them. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump right into it. All right, so social media tools for investigations. When many of us hear the term social media, we might sort of roll our eyes a bit and think like, oh, social media again, we've heard it all. It's a noisy place full of angry people and lots of cats. How can we as journalists actually, get the most out of it? And how can it actually help us in our jobs and not hinder us? And that means going a little bit deeper than your average experience and using certain tools to help you surface the kinds of information that would actually help you to enhance your storytelling. So whether that's content or conversations or sources that you might need to speak to or that might be useful to speak to. You are welcome to follow along on the slides on your own device if you would like, or refer to them later, download them, keep them. The link to these slides is on your screen, bottom right at the moment, www.bit.ly/AIJC21SM tools. So you can re-access these slides whenever you want. All the tools that I've included here, I've also included the links, so you can just click straight through from the slides to the respective tools. So today we're going to be looking at quite a variety of different tools. We only have 1 hour, so we can't go into too much detail on too many of them. The CrowdTangle tool is going to take the lion's share of today's session, but I will also introduce you to some other tools, as well as where you can actually find some very useful and extensive repositories or toolboxes of tools for journalists, specifically social media tools. So the first thing to have a look at is called the Journalist Toolbox, which is presented by the Society of Professional Journalists, and that is journalisttoolbox.org, which looks like this. And this is pretty much the most comprehensive repository of journalism tools that I have managed to find, and everything ranging from public records to investigative tools to how to use spreadsheets, how to get deeper into search, digital journalism tools, data journalism, COVID-specific tools, even mental health. You know, it's an important and often overlooked part of doing journalism. Transcription, fact-checking, copy editing, mobile journalism, you name it, it's here. But today we're going to be looking specifically at the social media section, which is designed to showcase tools for creating social media graphics, videos, scraping, and analyzing social media. So as mentioned, we don't have time to get into all of these tools, but I just wanted to alert you to this toolbox so that you can explore it in your own time. So they've got further categories within the social media category. So for Twitter and for social media scraping and for analytics and for creating social media graphics and video, if you need to do that. So just for example, within the social media scraping and analytics section, which was last updated, I think that's today. Yeah, so they keep this really updated, and they list their tools underneath here with the name and the link to the tools and a description of what each of those tools does. For example, export comments from your social media posts to an Excel file, which could be very useful for keeping records and proving that, you know, someone said something if they were to delete that comment a bit later. Phantom Buster helps with data extraction from social media and websites and helps you to pull in lists of influencers from all the platforms. Clay is an automated spreadsheet that you can use to keep track of Twitter handles or LinkedIn profiles. So really it's about getting data from the various platforms into a permanent record that you can work with. And most often that's going to be an Excel file or a Google Sheet, because that's the most dynamic sort of type of data that you can then work with and search and filter and visualize and so forth. So there's plenty of other tools as well here for collecting and analyzing data from Twitter. So just take a look through all of these, and depending on what you're trying to do. So I mean, I understand that everyone in the session has a different role or a different position and a different kind of objective. So it's difficult to kind of select specific tools to go into. I'm trying to keep it as relevant for as many people as possible. But yeah, there's really a wealth of tools here, and they mentioned CrowdTangle, which is exactly what we're going to be looking at. CrowdTangle is the most powerful tool for diving deeper into public Facebook data, much more useful than just the standard facebook.com interface that so many of us are used to. So that's the Journalist Toolbox at journalisttoolbox.org. So I would encourage you to bookmark that and keep it handy. They're doing a great job of updating that very regularly. So definitely one to keep in your arsenal. Another great resource is called the Open Source Intelligence Tools and Resources Handbook. And if you click through from the slides to onto this link, it will open up in your browser as a PDF. This is a PDF document. It is 510 pages long, so it is really quite mammoth, quite a Bible. And this goes beyond, just social media. This goes into, let me just go down to the contents and show you what's in here. So this is search tools. As you can just scan the titles of the different sections there. And then where it really gets interesting is on page 34 in terms of social media. So they've got a whole section and list of tools for the major social networks, how to work with hashtags, how to find influencers, social media management and content discovery, analytics, and then specific tools for each of the main platforms and some of the smaller platforms as well. Even right through to fitness apps and communities, if that's your thing. People search tools comes under people investigations, public records, document checking. So there's a lot of overlap, obviously, in OSINT, open source intelligence. Social media kind of comes into it a lot. Social media is not a silo on its own. It needs to be used and leveraged in conjunction with other tools that are available, like these people search tools, document searching, email analysis, for example. So I think a lot of these tools actually would have been covered by other people who have been presenting sessions at this conference. But if you have not yet come across this resource, I would recommend saving this one as well. Even some dark web stuff here, which would impress Adi from the previous session. And then working with images and videos and so forth. So we're not going to get to all of that, but if you are looking for the Bible of OSINT tools, including a great section on social media, then this is definitely the resource to go to. 510 pages of goodness. Next one is CrowdTangle. This is what I want to spend the most time on today. This is the third one on the list. This is for advanced searching and filtering of public Facebook data. And after that, I'm going to be looking at TweetDeck for better managing your Twitter experience and tracking the types of tweets that are most useful to what you are investigating. I see we have some hardy-dars joining us for this session, also wanting to know about social media tools. So welcome to the hardy-dars. And after TweetDeck, we'll be looking at a service called IFT, which stands for if this, then that, which is really useful for automatic actions triggered by certain events. For example, if a certain person on Twitter sends out a tweet with a certain word or a hashtag, you can automatically save that into a Google Sheet using IFT. This is really useful for record keeping of certain types of tweets that have gone out, because often, tweets get deleted. So we want to act quickly and automatically before those tweets get deleted. So IFT is great for that. And then Hunchly is quite an interesting piece of software which automatically saves social media profiles and posts and other types of content online. So you can refer to it later and keep a permanent record of it. So that's in brief the collection of tools that we're going to be looking at today. I want to dive straight into CrowdTangle now. Let me just go through to the CrowdTangle section here. So you might have heard of CrowdTangle. It's an extremely powerful tool for exploring Facebook data, not just Facebook, but also Twitter for the last 7 days, Instagram and Reddit as well. It is a tool that is owned and maintained by Facebook. And the purpose of CrowdTangle is, as you can see on the screen, to follow, analyze, and report on what's happening across social media. So to track trends, conversations. It's also useful for things like rumor tracking, to uncover misinformation, to investigate certain groups of people who congregate around certain conversations or themes or topics on Facebook. So it's really useful for journalists to really get into the corners of Facebook that are really useful to them for finding out stuff and identifying sources or people of interest, and particularly for tackling misinformation or just for seeing what's trending across Facebook or across a certain part of Facebook around particular topics. So this is a closed tool, which means it's not open to the public, but it's available to researchers and journalists, and there is a registration page which I've linked to over here. It helps also to have registered your news page on Facebook as a authentic news publishing page. So that's the first step to do. You do need to be working with or for a recognized news publisher if you want to get access as a journalist. You can also email support@crowdtangle.com as a quicker way with details of just a quick motivation, who you are, who you work for, and why you need access. So it's a public insights tool from Facebook that helps not only journalists, but also other types of publishers and researchers and fact checkers to really just more deeply and intelligently analyze what's going on across social media. So it needs to be pointed out that this is not a tool that will look at posts that have been made from individual people to their friends. Those are not public posts most of the time. So it's only tracking public data across Facebook, which would mostly come from pages or public groups or public profiles. Okay, and so what is it used for? What can we use it for as journalists? So to easily follow public content across major platforms, to analyze your performance of your own page versus other similar pages, which is really useful, and also to generate reports and identify trends and understand how public conversation or content spreads on social media, how people congregate across Facebook, and how they converse. So what exactly is CrowdTangle tracking? So more than 6 million Facebook pages, groups, and verified profiles. And that includes all public Facebook pages and groups with more than 100,000 likes. You can see here on the table on the right that CrowdTangle is tracking almost 100% of pages that have more than 100,000 likes. And the fewer the likes that the page has, the less chance that it's going to be tracked by CrowdTangle. You can obviously submit your page into its database, but this is how the breakdown is at the moment. So for pages that have 2,500 page likes or followers, only about 17% of those pages are actually tracked by CrowdTangle. But still, the data that CrowdTangle does have is absolutely huge. The data set is massive, but it is not all of Facebook, so that must be pointed out. So if your page is still quite small, only a couple of hundred likes, you can manually add it to the database and then track it in there. If you don't yet have CrowdTangle access, if you're still doing the registration process, what you can do immediately is install the CrowdTangle Chrome extension, which is readily available to anyone. Just add it to Chrome, and this helps to see how any website or web page on the internet is being talked about across Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, or Instagram. So if there's a particular story on a news website that's getting a lot of attention, and you'd like to see exactly who's posting that and how many interactions are happening around that post, then you can use CrowdTangle to do that. For example, if we go to the AIJC website at aijc.africa, and if I want to see, what is the social media conversation happening about this conference across Facebook and Twitter, and who has shared the link to this website on their Facebook profile, then I would use the CrowdTangle extension, which looks like this, to see exactly that. So I'm going to give it a second to load up here, but I can see now. I hope you can see this. I'll try and zoom in. It doesn't let me zoom in on the extension, so I hope you can see that. But yes, this website has been posted to Facebook 73 times, and it's received 998 interactions. And if we look at the total followers, that means followers across all of the platforms who have potentially seen this website via social media. So we've got the UNAS Coalition, we've got PTCIJ, we've got a whole bunch of other Facebook pages here, GIJN, VITS, so that's the African Center for Media Excellence. So it's really nice to get a snapshot of which kinds of Code for Africa, which kinds of pages are sharing this website, and how many actually interactions are they attracting on that post. So the post that has got the most attention, that includes the link to the AIJC website, is from the UNAS Coalition, which has 63,000 followers. And if I click on the outbound link here, I can see that exact post. Here's the link to that post. And let's see what it looks like. And here it is. And unfortunately, this is actually a post from last year. So, but you get the idea. This is the most popular Facebook post that features the AIJC website. There would be a link here, as you can see, to the AIJC website. So this is a great way to see who is saying what about your website or about a particular page on your website across social media. Okay, we're going to get to TweetDeck a little bit later. So let's now get into CrowdTangle itself, which is crowdtangle.com. So this is the live site right now. And there's a lot of publishers who are using CrowdTangle very effectively to improve their content and improve their discoverability and to jump onto trends, and indeed journalists who are using it to conduct investigations. So it's not only about increasing revenue, but it's also about sourcing and telling local stories. So, for example, that case study from NBC. The Atlanta Voice is using it. So they've got a lot of case studies listed here, which are very interesting reading. So I would recommend checking out these case studies. Yeah, CrowdTangle launches program to support investigative journalists at INN. So that's a nice applicable example here. So here you can read all about how investigative journalists at the Institute for Nonprofit News are using CrowdTangle to conduct investigations. CrowdTangle is used by investigative journalists globally to discover stories and report on the spread of public content across social platforms. So it is something that's being increasingly used by investigative journalists around the world. And you can read these case studies to find out exactly how publishers from across the world are actually doing this. CrowdTangle, so this is CrowdTangle has a hub for investigative journalists. So this is also something worth checking out. Facebook and CrowdTangle work with fact checkers and investigators globally to improve their work. And he has a whole list of tools and trainings and case studies specifically about how investigative journalists are using CrowdTangle. So there's cheat sheets, there's tips and tricks, there's all sorts of useful stuff, including webinar recordings, etc., etc. So a wealth of very useful resources there beyond the tool itself to show you how to use the tool and how other publishers have been using the tool. So having said that, let's go and look at how the tool actually works. Okay, so I'm going to have to log into it, which I just do via my Facebook account. So I'm back in and I'm going to go straight to my dashboard. Okay, so I'm in the tool now and I've loaded up my dashboard. So just briefly to explain the interface, on the left, we see explore and lists and some other things. And on the top, we see live displays, intelligence, and search. So those are the four main kind of components of the tool or areas of the website. And we're going to look at each one of them individually. So CrowdTangle works predominantly with lists, right? And a list in this case means a collection of Facebook pages or groups according to a particular topic or something in common. So as you can see here on the left, we've got Afghanistan media, we've got Ethiopian pages, we've got German politicians, NPOs, police departments, South African media. So there's a whole lot of lists that CrowdTangle has built and maintains. You can also create your own list, of course, if you have a particular group of pages that you want to track. Maybe it's pages within your organization if you're a large organization. Maybe it's a certain type of media in a certain country. Maybe it's just a certain public profiles or groups that you've earmarked to keep an eye on for a certain reason. So that's up to you in terms of who you want to include on a list. But to get started, it's a good thing to just take a look at the Explore feature, which gives you access to the lists that CrowdTangle has created and continues to curate and maintain. So you can just start searching for a list and see if anything comes up that suits your purposes. So we could search for something, like South African media, and that it's not appearing here because I've already got it saved in my list of lists on the left here. But if I search for something, let's just see what comes up when you search for Africa. So we've got celebs, we've got politics, we've got athletes, African media, very interesting, and various other things. So it's giving you the names of the lists and also how many pages are actually in those lists. So the list, the African media list includes 351 Facebook pages of large media pages across Africa. Obviously, this is going to be many countries and many different languages. And then I can see now on this list of African media pages, which posts are actually doing the best in the last X number of minutes or hours. So if I change this to say the last 7 days, and I then change my filter on the left here, so you can filter for overperforming, which means trending, underperforming, which means performing worse than average, total interactions, interaction rates, which is another word, another phrase for engagement. And that obviously means a completely different thing to total interactions, which is another word for reach. So, I mean, you want to reach a lot of people, obviously, but you also want your engagement rates to be high, because that means that the content is compelling and that people are interacting with it. And that's really the most powerful metric on social media. So if we look at interaction rates across 370 of the biggest African Facebook pages across the last 7 days, you can see here there's a post from Le Point Afrique, and it's a podcast, and it's got huge traction and interaction. There's another post from Radio Monastery. I can't understand these languages, so I'm going to filter this for language, which I can do down here, and I'm going to filter this to English. Where's English? There we go. Okay, so there we go. So we've got legit.ng, so a Nigerian page, breaking news, and this is a post about a Nigerian mum and her baby in the UK. So that is the most popular, or the post that's getting the most engagement, or the highest engagement rates across African media pages on Facebook for the last 7 days. Second is also a post from them. Third is from the Sunday World, South African page. So this page is getting really good interaction rates, which means their content strategy is great, because they're getting a lot of interaction on their posts. We've got 013 News from Mpumalanga, another page from Nigeria, we've got the Cape Times, and so forth. So that's a great way of tracking top performing posts across a certain industry or across a certain type of media, whatever it is that you are investigating or you're interested in, filterable by performance or total interactions, interaction rate, or most recent. So if I go to most recent, I should see something published a few minutes ago here, Blueprint newspapers, and then 5 minutes ago, the Saturday Star, and so forth. If you're wondering who a page is that you're seeing, you just hover your mouse over the title, and it will give you the description of that page. It's a Nigerian news media page, and that's the number of people who like the page, when the page was created, and the location of people who admin that page. This is sometimes interesting because if a page is putting out news about a certain country or a certain topic, but their admins are from another country, then you need to start wondering, what's going on here? Is there some manipulation going on? Is there an agenda here, especially political posts? You'll often find that new pages spring up just around election time, and they'll say they've got a certain agenda, but then maybe their content doesn't match that, or they're putting out misinformation, or their admins are in another country. So then you can start raising your eyebrows as to the authenticity or the credibility of that source. But in this case, we can see that this page has been around since September 22nd to 2011, so 10 years. It has not had a name change. You would see that if it did over here, and you can see where the admins are and how many admins there are for that page. So that's really useful. So that's most recent. Yeah, and if you click through to leaderboard, you can then see, let's let it load up. Hope I'm not having internet problem. Oh, there we go. So here you can actually see, okay, who's actually on this list, and you can sort this list. So here I can literally just keep scrolling through all 350 African media pages on this list. Remember, this would be typically the largest media pages. So it's got them listed here in descending order of page followers, but you can also reorder according to interaction rates or average posts per day, or their growth rate, page followers, and so forth. So a really nice way of tracking performance across different pages. And and seeing, how they compare. So average posts per day. So here we can see that this page has 255 posts per day on Facebook, which is ludicrous, followed by another page, which I can't pronounce, and then the rest of these. So these are the guys who are going crazy on Facebook and posting a whole lot of stuff, but the interaction rates don't necessarily maybe tell a different story. And you also got to look at their total interactions and their followers as well. And you can compare it to the average, which is very useful here. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so this is African media. You might have a different list. You might want to, like I said, it depends on what you're doing, what you want to achieve. Okay, so if we go to intelligence, which is the next thing, this is a tool that lets you look at and compare account performance over time. I'm not going to spend too much time on that because I want to get into the search tool, which is great for looking at specific topics, keywords around a certain word. But in the intelligence tool, you could search for a page or a list that you have. Let's just go to news24.com, which is the biggest news publisher in South Africa. You can then see the interactions, and it's important to look out for any spikes here, because a spike tells you that there was an increase in attention on that page on that date, and then you have to wonder why, what was posted on that day. It's also telling you the difference or the spread, the breakdown of content type on that page. So News24 predominantly posting just links, so they're a bit lazy. Only 5% of their posts are actual photos, and only 0.06% of what they post to Facebook is actually a video uploaded natively to Facebook. So very lazy from the team at News24. They're only using Facebook to post links back to their own website, where to be effective on social, you need to publish a variety of different post types. So from here, you can share reports, you can share it, you can download it as a CSV and so forth. But I don't want to spend too much time there. I want to go to search. Okay, so let's just minimize that. Now, so here's where the fun starts. This is where you can search for a particular term or a URL and see, who, like we saw with the CrowdTangle extension. This is basically the extension on steroids, where you can see much more details about who's posted what about a URL or a particular search term. So it's just loading stuff here. I'm just waiting. Okay, let's enter a search term. Let's look for whatever it is that you are doing a story on. I'm just going to go for South Africa now. I've hit enter. I'm waiting for it to return my results. Here they come up. It's obviously trawling through a lot of data, so that's why it takes a little bit of time. So in this 7-day time period, back to the October the 7th, there's been 25,000 posts on Facebook that mention the term South Africa, and there's been 6 million interactions around that. If I go down, I'm being told that there are, in the last 24 hours, 3,400 posts, and these are the posts below here. But I want to get a bit more, clever about this. I want to get a bit more involved. So what I could do is sort by overperforming or total interactions, most comments, most video views, newest or oldest. But maybe I'm looking for videos, and maybe I'm looking specifically for live videos. People that have published live videos about South Africa in the last 24 hours. So click on post type, and then click on whatever it is you're looking for, Facebook videos or live videos, YouTube videos, or even photos. So let's go to Facebook live videos, and it's then going to filter our results. And we're going to see, okay, in the last 7 days, there were 421 live videos on Facebook mentioning South Africa. And in the last day, there were 52. If we keep scrolling down, we're going to see what they were. And if we want to see for a longer time period, we can change our time filter over here. So let's say for the last 30 days. I'm going to further refine my search term because it's a bit vague at the moment. So maybe I'm going to go for South Africa elections. Remember, you can use words like this, or you can use a particular phrase if you want that exact phrase. And let's just give that a second to load, but here we go. So we've got, and this is for the last 30 days. So on the 25th of September, the DA put out had a live video that went out, mentioning here South Africa in the description, and the word elections would be somewhere here as well. So there. Let's look a bit further down. So yeah, a variety of pages coming up here. And if we sort this by interaction rate, which I don't see here, unfortunately, but we can see, which got the most attention, the most interactions. Better to look at overperforming, which means the post is performing better than average for posts of its type. So that's where you would go to see the most compelling or, best performing or viral videos that have gone out. So here's a post from Hopewell, and there's his caption. If we see more, we will be able to see the words South Africa and elections when that loads up. Okay, that's the page info. So there we go. You can see there that the page changed its name in March 2021. These are the different names that the page had. There's one admin of that page, and he or she is in Zimbabwe. So if a page has changed its name drastically, then that's an alarm bell, because then they're possibly misleading their audience. They've changed their agenda, their objectives, and that's something to watch out for. Okay, so these are the Facebook Live videos. You can include Facebook pages, groups, and profiles in your searches. You're not limited just to pages. And you can also search across other platforms like Twitter and Instagram and Reddit by updating your filter over here on the left, if it loads for me. Here we go. So Instagram, Reddit, or Twitter, but on Twitter it's only for the last 7 days. Just remember that. But for Facebook, it's years and years. So let's see what posts, as another example. I mean, if you are sort of investigating someone or a company or an event that's upcoming or anything like that, then you would obviously enter those keywords here. But I'm just going to put in some other generic terms here, and then let's see what we can find, what conversations we can find on Facebook happening about investigative journalism in Africa. So, and I'm going to, okay, so there's no filter for post type. We filtered to Facebook, pages, groups, and verified profiles in the last 30 days. And if we scroll down, remember it's trawling through a lot of data, so that's why it takes a bit of time. And here it's good to see that there are some posts about this very conference. Join Africa's best investigative journalists at 2021 AIJC. And there we have it. Yeah, so you might discover, if you were looking to punt your sessions or punt the conference, you might use this tool to find who else is talking about investigative journalism in Africa. And maybe you could get in touch with them and invite them to your session or whatever it is. So here's another post. Okay, PTCIJ again. Yeah. Another really, really interesting feature of CrowdTangle is to search for words within images. So that's the meme search component here. So let's say you were searching for any image on Facebook that includes the words vaccine or your name or a company name or anything else. You would then select the meme search, image text only. And it's going to return images that contain the word vaccine, which is pretty strong. So Facebook has got built-in OCR or optical character recognition So you can even find words that are saved within a picture, which is pretty interesting. It's still loading. Let's just see here. Okay. Just going to check quickly if there's any questions in the Zoom or elsewhere. I don't see any questions or messages, so I'm going to carry on. Let's scroll down, and so we've searched just for images that contain the word vaccines. There we go. That's an image with the word vaccine, and there as well. There as well. So if you're looking maybe for, you know, memes or misinformation or rumors that are lying hidden within images, they're not actually so hidden, because you can find words in images, even like this, which is really small and kind of hard to see. It's picking that up, which is pretty amazing. Yeah, there as well. So I'm sure you are, well, I'm hoping that you can see the potential usefulness of this for picking up words and conversations, even when those words don't appear in the actual post, but they just appear in a poster or even on a building, you know, the name of a building, the name of a place that's in a photograph. So really powerful way of finding words hidden in images there. As I said, post type, you can filter to various post types. So that is the search tool. If you have found some interesting results, you can save that search as a custom search, or you can actually share that search with any CrowdTangle user as a particular link. So if you're collaborating with a fellow journalist on a story and you want to say, hey, check out these posts I found with the word vaccine hidden deep within the image, you could share those search results like this, just with a link to any other CrowdTangle user, which is pretty powerful as well. So that's the search feature on CrowdTangle. Going back to the dashboard, so we've looked at Explore for finding relevant lists, where you can create your own list. There's your list over there. We've looked at Intelligence for more info about one page in particular, or two, 3 pages. You can compare pages over time. And we've looked at search. Another thing to look at here is what's called live displays. So this is something that you could just really leave on a second screen and monitor certain topics or conversations in real time, which is great. So Facebook has made a few live displays already, such as the Olympics, and they've got also others that they've built for things like COVID and all sorts of other things. So live displays can be public, can be viewable to the public. So no, you don't have to be a registered CrowdTangle user in order to see the live displays. You just need to, if you want to show the public a live display, you just need to create the live display and share the link. So that's really great to just put on, you know, at a conference or at an event. You have a kind of a live stream of whatever it is that you want to display, viral posts about a certain topic, for example, or the most recent posts from South African media, or, you know, whatever it is. Let's look at an example. Oops, live displays. So just as an example, let's go to the Tokyo 2020 live display that CrowdTangle put together. And then it kind of, it puts everything in columns here, which updates dynamically. It's a bit zoomed in right now. You can zoom out. Of course, it depends on the screen size that you're using, but for something like this, the bigger the screen, the better. And then you can load up the contents like this. So they've got columns here, much like Hootsuite or TweetDeck, which we'll look at now. The most recent posts from global media about Tokyo 2020, most recent posts from athletes or celebs or public groups. So you can configure that as you want, and then those posts will update dynamically. So this is really great. Oops, that has got quite small. I think that's about it for CrowdTangle. Really powerful tool that can delve into a massive amount of data in a much more effective way than you can just do, from the normal Facebook interface at facebook.com or on the app. So if there is a particular person or maybe even a type of vaccine or a certain country or a province or a city in a country that's on your radar for investigative purposes, then this tool is great for quickly determining the most active conversations happening about those people or about those events or places or phenomena. So that's CrowdTangle. We don't have too much time left, so let's just quickly go through TweetDeck. TweetDeck is just a tool for Twitter only, unlike CrowdTangle, which is for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit. Why is TweetDeck useful for journalists? Because it enables you to set up custom streams of tweets or notifications based on what you are investigating or researching. So here, for example, I've got multiple columns set up for notifications for various accounts that I use, for various users that I'm interested in, for currently trending topics that are customized for me, as well as for South Africa as a whole. Remember, trends can be customized just for you based on what you're interested in on Twitter, or for a certain country, or for the whole world. So it's useful to monitor trends in a column like this. You can also have columns for monitoring certain search terms and certain hashtags. So let's look at what's trending in South Africa at the moment. It looks like Jacob Zuma is trending at #1, so I'm not quite sure why, but we're soon going to find out. So if I click on that, it creates a new column just to monitor that trend. You'll see that the tweets coming in here are quite thick and fast. 20 seconds ago, 26 seconds ago, 43 seconds ago. Let me just zoom in slightly in case this is a bit small. It doesn't seem to want to zoom in, but oh, there we go. Okay. Just go back. Okay, that's too much of a zoom, sorry. Things are lagging a bit here, I'm not quite sure why. Maybe let's crank up this battery power. Okay, I want to move this. Okay, there, let's go back to this. Okay, so here's the column for monitoring this trending hashtag. And as you can see, the tweets are flowing in thick and fast. But that's not very useful to us. We don't want to see a constantly updating stream of tweets from anyone and everything, which could well contain brands jumping on the bandwagon. Like here, you'll often find this. Brands will just take all the trending hashtags and dump them in their tweet just to piggyback on that trend. That's not very useful. So how do we filter this? We click on the little settings button for this column, and we go to tweet content. Tweet authors. And the first thing to do is to filter that for verified users only. So now we're cutting out a lot of the clutter because we're only seeing tweets mentioning that hashtag from verified users like SABC News, Network 24, Volksblad, Jacaranda News. So mostly media, who are reporting on what's going on. So obviously, yeah, it looks like Zuma was speaking publicly today for the first time in a while. So that's why he is trending now. So immediately we've cut out a lot of the noise. You'll see these tweets are from 10 minutes ago, 28 minutes, 49 minutes, 2 hours. So much more high quality tweets coming through here, useful tweets. We can actually get to the bottom of the matter and we can find out what's going on much quicker than just scrolling through tweets from anyone and everyone. Anyone and everyone. You could also add another word to search in conjunction with this. So maybe we're looking for tweets that also mention prison. And we can update that. And then it's going to give us the latest tweets there. So there's the word prison, and there's the hashtag, and it's from a verified user. If you are looking for video content, maybe there is a breaking news story, there's a natural disaster, or something has happened and you're looking for video footage, you're possibly looking for someone on the scene to speak to about what is going on in the video. You could filter this by location. So people who are tweeting from a certain location, maybe within 20 kilometers of Durban, there's one from the Mercury, which is a Durban-based newspaper. So that's pretty useful as well. Maybe as I said, you're only looking for videos, then in tweet content, you would change all tweets to tweets with videos. So I'm currently looking at tweets, including that hashtag from verified users that include videos. And this is what I'm finding here. So really useful for cutting out the clutter and the noise on Twitter, which we so often encounter when just digging around on twitter.com and using it in a much more streamlined and useful way. How to add columns in TweetDeck, simply click on the add column button here and then choose what it is that you want to monitor, whether it's a particular user or your own notifications or search, whether that's for a hashtag or a search term, lists, collections, trending topics, as we saw. You can even have your own messages appearing in a column there. So pretty much the whole Twitter experience all contained within one dashboard here on TweetDeck. And all the functionality of Twitter is also here. So if you click on a tweet, you can reply to it, you can retweet it, you can like it, you can get the embed code, copy the link, anything that you could normally do on twitter.com. You can add it to a collection, which means you could save it to a list of bookmarks if you are trying to collect relevant tweets for an investigation, which is also super useful. I'm just going to quickly check the Hoover app and the Zoom to see if there are any questions. Let me just go back to the Zoom. I don't see anything in the Q&A or in the chat. So yeah, I think we can look at wrapping up pretty soon if there's no more questions. But just to tell you about IFTS, which stands for if this, then that. This is for automating actions between various services, not just social media services, but any services on the web. And a particularly useful one for journalists is to, as I said earlier, save tweets featuring specific content to a spreadsheet. So even while you're asleep and a tweet goes out from a certain politician mentioning a certain word, within seconds of that tweet going out, you can have it saved into a spreadsheet on your Google Drive. For example, if anyone mentions the word Internews, which is the organization I work for, then I can save that straight away into a Google spreadsheet, which would just appear in my Google Drive like this. And then I have that tweet permanently saved, and I have an ongoing record of tweets from that user or mentioning a certain word, which I can then keep as a resource, an investigative resource for my work. And lastly, hunchly.com is worth checking out for automatic preservation of websites and social media. It helps journalists to preserve content when a story unfolds. So to automatically save any story that's published on a particular website or any post on social media. Why? Because that publisher might want to delete that story for whatever reason, or that social media page might want to delete a post. But with Hunchly, you can save it automatically to help you, keep, just like with IFT, to help to keep a permanent record of what was published. Okay, I see there's something in the chat. Let's just check that quickly. Okay, that's not relevant. Okay, so I think we can sort of start wrapping up now. So I'm going to just remind you of the link for these slides in case you joined late. The link is www.bit.ly/AIJC21SM tools. That will take you to exactly what you're seeing on your screen right now. And from there, you can click through to the various tools that we've been talking about today. But for now, I'm going to hand back to Campbell. Thanks, Campbell.
Thank you so much, Michael. I think today's session was really a testament to how much data there is for journalists out there, but I think it's also a bit of a warning to how much data we put out into the world. So there's the two sides to the same coin there. But thank you so much for that. Before we say a goodbye to everyone, thank you so much for joining us. And just to highlight some sessions that we have tomorrow, and tomorrow is our final day of the AIJC conference, so please make sure that you join us for that. Again, it is online. It is part of our training and workshops. So we have collaborative investigative journalism. We have the Hack and Hackers Collab, which is about how tech and journalism can look in, was used to look into the SA Lotto fraud. We've got investigating environmental crimes. And with that, we've got Oxpickers actually using a case study to highlight some of the tips and tools and the experiences of those reporters within that case study. And finally, we have the OCorp Aleph, which is an investigative data platform available to journalists. So I think if you've enjoyed today's session with Michael, please make sure to reach out to him, but also join us for tomorrow, because again, everything connects and it's all here for you. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time today. We hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll see you again tomorrow.